Right now, your engine is not performing the way you think it is. Even if your car feels fine, even if it starts every morning without a problem, you could already be losing up to 30% of your engine's real power, and you would never notice it, because this loss doesn't happen suddenly. It happens slowly, silently, layer by layer. Inside your engine, thousands of microscopic explosions are happening every minute. And with time, those explosions leave behind something almost no driver ever sees. Tiny, invisible damage, microfriction, heat scars, surface wear so small, it doesn't show up on any basic inspection. But these tiny scars start doing something dangerous. They break your engine's perfect seal. And the moment that seal is compromised, your compression starts leaking, your fuel stops burning efficiently, and your engine begins to feel weaker, heavier, slower. That's when your fuel economy drops. That's when your acceleration feels delayed. That's when your car just doesn't feel the same anymore. But here's the part most people never realize. By the time you feel the problem, you've already lost a massive chunk of performance. And this is exactly where the trap is set. Because when you finally go to a mechanic, they already know what's happening. They'll tell you things like, your engine is worn out. You need a top-end rebuild. There's internal damage. Nothing cheap can fix this. And just like that, you're staring at a $2,000 to $3,000 repair bill. But what if I told you that this entire problem, the friction, the wear, the compression loss, can actually be reversed at a microscopic level? Not temporarily covered up, not masked, but actually restored where the damage is happening. And here's the part that sounds crazy. It doesn't cost $3,000. It doesn't even cost $100. It costs about $2. Now, before you think this is just another fuel additive or fake cleaner, this is something completely different. This is what insiders call nanosurface restoration, a process that works at a level so small, most people don't even understand it exists. Instead of just cleaning your engine, it actually interacts with the metal itself, filling microscopic imperfections, reducing friction where damage already exists, helping restore compression from the inside out. And the reason you've never heard about it? Simple. Because if more people knew about this, millions of expensive engine repairs would instantly become unnecessary. Think about that. No rebuilds, no engine wear excuses, no massive service bills, just a simple process that takes less than 5 minutes and can make an aging engine feel shockingly close to new again. But there's a catch. Because if you use it the wrong way, or at the wrong time, you won't see any results. And that's exactly why in the next part, I'm going to break down what this nano liquid actually is, how it works inside your engine, and why 90% of drivers who try it still end up doing it wrong. Now here's where things start to sound almost unbelievable, and honestly, this is the part where most people either lean in or immediately become skeptical. Because the idea being pushed here is not just cleaning, it's not just lubrication, it's something much deeper. Something that claims to work at a level you can't even see. Inside every running engine, metal parts are constantly moving against each other under extreme heat and pressure. Even with good oil, even with proper maintenance, tiny imperfections start forming over time. Microscopic scratches, slight surface roughness, deposits that stick where they shouldn't. None of this is visible to the naked eye, but together, they slowly reduce how efficiently the engine operates. That's where the concept of nano-level action comes in. These so-called nano additives are marketed as using extremely small particles, far smaller than anything traditional oil additives used decades ago. The claim is that instead of just sitting in the oil and reducing friction temporarily, these particles are carried by the oil flow into the tightest clearances inside the engine. Places like piston rings, cylinder walls, valve areas, spots where wear and friction matter the most. And once there, under heat and pressure, they're said to interact with the metal surface itself. Now, here's the important part that most people misunderstand. This is not literal healing in the way a broken part gets repaired. No liquid can rebuild cracked metal or reverse serious mechanical damage, but what some advanced additives can do is deposit extremely thin layers or modify surface characteristics in a way that reduces friction and improves how parts glide against each other. Think of it less like fixing damage and more like smoothing out roughness. If a surface becomes smoother, even slightly, the effect can feel bigger than expected. The piston rings seal a bit better, compression efficiency improves slightly, less energy is wasted fighting friction, and that can translate into a smoother, idle, better throttle response, and sometimes even improved fuel economy. That's why some drivers report noticeable changes after using certain treatments. But here's the key reason mechanics don't detect something like this, because nothing visible has changed. There's no new part installed, no gasket replaced, no component swapped out. The oil still looks like oil. The viscosity might remain within normal range. On a basic inspection, everything appears exactly the same. Even on a deeper inspection, unless you're doing precise measurements or tear-down analysis, you're not going to see a microscopic surface improvement. And that's where the myth starts growing. People say, mechanics can't detect it. But in reality, it's not that something magical is hidden. It's that the effect, if it exists, happens at a scale that standard inspection doesn't directly measure. Now, about the racing comparison. Yes, high-performance engines, especially in racing, do use advanced lubrication technologies, friction modifiers, and surface treatments to reduce energy loss. Every fraction of efficiency matters at that level, but those systems are highly engineered, tested, and controlled. They're not simply poured in from a $2 bottle. And this is where things get blurred, because marketing takes a real concept, friction reduction, and stretches it into something that sounds like a full internal rebuild without tools, without cost, without effort. The reality sits somewhere in between. Certain additives can absolutely help clean deposits, reduce friction, and improve how smoothly an engine runs, especially if the problem is minor buildup or wear-related inefficiency. But they cannot permanently fix serious compression loss, stop major oil leaks, or reverse deep mechanical wear. Still, the reason this idea keeps spreading is simple. Even a small improvement can feel dramatic. If your engine has been struggling due to buildup or minor inefficiencies, and suddenly it runs smoother, quieter, and more responsive after a simple treatment, it feels like something powerful just happened. And from the driver's seat, that experience is real. Which leads to the next question that almost nobody asks at the beginning. If some of this actually works, even partially, then why do some engines show no improvement at all? And why do others seem to respond instantly? Because the difference is not in the bottle. It's in the condition of the engine itself. And this is the moment where the story usually takes a sharp turn into something much bigger than just your engine. Because once people see even a small improvement, the next question isn't about how it worked. It's about why they never heard about it before. And that's where the idea of an industry conflict starts to grow. You'll hear claims that manufacturers, dealerships, and large service networks don't want simple fixes to become popular. That if drivers suddenly found cheap ways to improve performance at home, fewer people would agree to expensive services. Fewer engines would be opened up, and fewer high-margin repairs would be sold. On the surface, it sounds logical. After all, modern vehicles are part of a massive global ecosystem. Manufacturing, servicing, parts, diagnostics. There is real money in maintenance and repair, oil changes, inspections, component replacements. It all adds up over time. And yes, businesses naturally promote services that are proven, standardized, and profitable. But here's where it's important to separate perception from reality. The automotive world is not built on a single hidden switch that could suddenly fix everything for $2. Engines are complex systems. Wear happens in different ways. Mechanical fatigue, heat cycles, contamination, aging seals, material breakdown. Some of it can be slowed, some of it can be cleaned, but some of it is simply part of how machines age. That's why manufacturers design maintenance schedules. Not to trap drivers, but to reduce risk, extend lifespan, and keep performance within safe limits. When dealerships recommend services, they're usually following those guidelines or responding to known issues. Sometimes those services are expensive, yes. Sometimes they're overkill. But they're based on predictable mechanical needs, not hidden secrets. Now, where additives and simple fixes fit into this picture is more nuanced. There are products that help clean deposits, reduce friction, or improve lubrication performance. And when used correctly, they can absolutely make a difference in certain situations. That's not a conspiracy. That's chemistry and engineering working together. But the idea that there is one universal liquid that can replace major repairs entirely, that's where things become exaggerated. Because if an engine has serious internal damage, worn rings, deep scoring, failing seals, no fluid can fully reverse that. It might improve symptoms temporarily. It might make the engine feel better for a while. But it won't eliminate the underlying mechanical limits. So why do some people feel like they've discovered a hidden secret? Because from their experience, it feels like one. They avoided a costly repair. Their engine improved. Their car feels more alive again. And in that moment, it's easy to believe that something powerful was kept from them. But what's really happening is this. There's a gap between what most drivers understand about engines and what actually goes on inside them. That gap creates confusion. And confusion creates opportunity for both helpful solutions and exaggerated claims. Some companies will oversell expensive services. Others will oversell cheap miracle fixes. Both sides are competing for the same thing, your trust. And right in the middle of that is the driver, trying to figure out what actually works, what is worth the money, and what is just noise. Which brings us to the most important part of all. Because once you understand what these products can realistically do and what they can't, you stop guessing. And you start making decisions that actually protect your engine, instead of chasing promises that sound too good to be true. And that's exactly what we're about to break down next. Now this is the part where everything becomes practical. and also where you need to be the most careful. Because when something sounds this simple, just pour a liquid into your engine and wait a few minutes, it's easy to believe there's zero risk, zero thinking required. But your engine is one of the most sensitive and expensive systems in your entire car. So instead of blindly following hype, you need to understand how to approach this the right way. First, let's talk about the basic idea. Yes, many engine treatments and additives are designed to be added through the oil fill cap. That part is normal. These products mix with the existing engine oil and circulate through the system as the engine runs. The oil pump carries them into critical areas, piston rings, bearings, valve components, where they can help clean deposits or improve lubrication. But here's the reality. Most videos don't explain. You should never add anything to your engine while it's idling unless the product specifically and clearly says it's safe to do so. The safer and widely recommended approach is simple. Add the product when the engine is off, then start the engine and let it run so the oil, and whatever you added, can circulate evenly. Now about the instant results claim. Sometimes, if your engine has minor buildup or slight inefficiencies, you might notice small changes after using a quality additive. A smoother idle, slightly quieter operation, maybe a more responsive feel. But this doesn't always happen in minutes, and it doesn't happen for every engine. If tapping noises disappear instantly, that usually points to lubrication-related issues, not deep mechanical damage. And while additives can help in those cases, they are not rebuilding metal in real time. That's an important distinction. Because no liquid, no matter how advanced, can permanently fix serious internal wear, cracked components, or major compression loss. What it can do, in some cases, is improve how efficiently the engine operates by cleaning and reducing friction where possible. Think of it like this. You're not rebuilding the engine. You're helping it operate closer to its best possible condition given its current state, and that alone can feel like a big difference. Now, about the idea of a permanent bond. Some additives do leave behind protective layers or modify how surfaces interact, but nothing inside an engine is truly permanent. Heat cycles, oil changes, and continuous motion gradually wear everything down again. That's why maintenance is always ongoing. It's not a one-time fix. And the biggest mistake drivers make? Expecting one product to solve everything. The truth is, the best results come from combining simple habits. Using good quality engine oil, changing it on time, keeping the system clean, and if needed, using well-reviewed additives in the correct way. That's how you actually extend engine life and maintain performance. Now step back and look at the bigger picture. The reason this whole idea feels so powerful isn't just because of the product. It's because it gives drivers a sense of control. Instead of feeling trapped between expensive repairs and declining performance, you feel like you can do something yourself. And that feeling matters. Because once you understand what's happening inside your engine, you stop reacting to problems too late. You start maintaining it smarter. You start noticing changes earlier. You stop falling for both extremes, the overpriced fixes and the unrealistic miracles. So if you're going to try something like this, do it the right way. Be informed. Be cautious. Use products that are known and tested. Follow proper instructions. And most importantly, understand what result is realistic. Because your goal isn't to chase a $2 miracle. Your goal is to keep your engine running smoother, longer, without wasting money or taking unnecessary risks. And once you think like that, you've already taken back more control than most drivers ever will.